Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our lovely holiday stretch and release class. Yes, as you can see, I'm all decked out for the holidays. Woohoo! All right, so here's a few things that we'll need. If you have a stretch out strap or a dog leash would work, or a towel can also work. We're going to use this to help stretch out our lower leg, thigh bone area. And I have a blanket handy. I also have a roller handy. Now, I have two Franklin balls, which we've been using quite often in most of our classes online that we meet on Mondays. These are small balls. They can be squishy. They can be pet toys. You can put a couple of wash rags inside a sock. That would also work. For you, if you do not have a roller, that's also okay. We will need it for a little bit of a side stretch. So if you have a blanket, what I suggest is that you fold the blanket in a fashion where it kind of becomes your roller, if that makes sense. Yes? So on that note, you know how most of the classes we get started on, we start with a lovely little breathing session. And that's where we will begin. I'm just gonna adjust a couple of things here, just so you have a little picture. Okay, good. And now, all right, we're actually gonna start seated. And I'm sitting kind of perched at the front edge of my chair, allowing my knees to settle right over my heels. And I'm gonna start with a few breath cycles, which is how we always start all of our Monday classes. So why not that way this time? So let's take a moment and take these breaths and think of all of the amazing things that our body is able to do each and every day for us. And it's moving with us, hopefully, rather than against us. So that's what I want you to focus on, all the kind things you know about your body. All right, I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna take 5 breaths in and out, just normal breath cycles. So here we go. I hope that was calming for you. It sure was calming for me. So on this note, I'm getting ready to tap my forehead. So I'm gonna take off this beautiful holiday headband. I'm gonna leave it nearby so it can still be in the picture somewhere. There we go. I'll just put it right out in front of me. We're gonna start with a little tapping. And what does tapping do? It just lets us be more aware of our largest organ in our body, which is our skin. And it brings attention and focus to the outside-most part of our body. So we're gonna start tapping from our eyes outward across the forehead. So very gentle taps from the forehead out. And wherever you start, just keep going a few more times. And we come back in, we just go from inside out and go back into the midline. And then I'm gonna go across the top of my head and go to the sides of my earlobes. From the top of the crown of the head to the sides of my earlobes. My goal is to make my hair just completely messed up by the end of this class. I'm joking and not joking at the same time. All right, you guys know I'm a pretty goofy person, so here we go. I'm just going all the way around my head, behind me, across the sides of my head, sides of my neck. And now I'm just gonna tilt my head to the left so I can tap across the sides of my shoulder, across the right with my right hand. And then I'm going to tap my head to the right as I tap my left side of my shoulder with my left hand, just so my right arm can really rest and relax. And then I'm going to just go across the top of the shoulders behind me. And then I'm going to come across the collarbone and across the chest. Yep, just very tiny, light fingertip taps is all we're going for. And then we're going to let our left arm go up, and we're going to take a little side bend to tap across the side of our left. And the head just tilts to the right. As long as you can speak free and clear, you know your airway is open. And then you go around the arm bone, across the arm, and then across the side, and then across the front of the ribs. The beauty of these are you can pause and rewind and watch it all over again. And then I'm going to let this arm just kind of hang, and I'm going to brush the arm off, literally brush all the way through the fingertips, all across, all around the sides of the arm bone, just letting it all go. And then I'm going to come back to center and just notice how much nicer the left side is hanging. So you know we'll go to the right side to give the right side a little love. So I'm going to let my right arm go up above and start tapping across the side of the armpit, across the side of the ribs. And it's okay to hum here or say, follows up the alphabet. Or, yeah, that's what I meant. A-E-I-O-U. This time the tapping is a little bit more, isn't it? It's across the palm instead of the fingertips. And then we're going to go around the top of the arm, all the way around where the arm meets the collarbone and the shoulder blade. And then we're just going to let that arm hang, and we're going to brush it all off. Imagining that we're just letting go. And if I forgot to mention, we need a folding chair that I'm sitting on. Hopefully you saw that at the beginning. After all this time, I'm finally remembering to say that out loud. Yeah, that's kind of how my day has been. And then we're just gonna let it go. Oh yeah, that already feels good. So now I'm gonna start tapping across my tummy area, but I'm gonna start from the middle and go to the left and go down and around and creating little tiny circles all the way around. And then we go outward. So same clockwise pattern. And you're wondering, does it matter if it's clockwise or anti-clockwise? It really doesn't. It's okay if you do it the other way. No worries. And we're just bringing a little awareness. That's all this is all about. Where can we let go a little bit more? And now that that's done, you're just going to fold over on top of your chair and just give your back a little tap. Come on back up when you sit. Round your collarbones. You're going to stand up and really stretch. And then you're going to tap across the leg bones. All the way around. Come forward and sleep. We'll tap our feet. Lift the heel so you can tap around. There you go. And then let's use our feet to come up on top of both feet. And move the chair further back away. Roll forward. And a little deeper, tapping off the ball. Follow this. Rolling up. Across the front of the hips. Well, that feels really nice. So along that note, we'll get started with a little foot-related awakening. I'm going to put my chair away for a moment. And I'm going to get on top of the mat just so it's a little kinder for me. I'm going to put the right ball of my foot and the heel down. And all I'm going to think of doing is lean into that right foot slightly forward and then go right back away. One more time. I'm just going to lean into it and go back away. Being mindful that you're leaning from a place of comfort. And one more of these. And then we're going to come to a standstill, and you're going to let this right foot roll all the way out so the pinky toe touches the earth, and then the big toe side of the ball touches the earth. And we go side to side, and your toes are just enveloped on top of the ball the whole time. Your heel is planted down, and you're just letting your circular aspect or the spiraling aspect of our foot come into play here. That's it. Very simple. And then I'm going to turn just a little, just so you can see. Here's a place where if you're nearby a chair and you need a little bit of help with the balance, please by all means do so. I'm going to step onto the arch of my foot. I'm going to step on the foot and off. And it's a gentle little weight bearing. It's not a huge amount. And it's literally for a few moments, not long at all. As you can tell, I'm not at home. I'm at our lovely studio today. 2 more. Excellent. And then we'll go to the heel of our foot. And you're just going to rest into that heel. And the ball of my foot and the toes are down on the earth. And same thing here if you want to go into a little weight shift where your heel and your sit bone find a way to have a conversation with each other. By all means do so. And it's very tempting. The toe ball, the ball of your foot and the toes off of the earth, and you're going to try to keep it down. So it's kind of like a high heel shoe position. And then from there, we're just going to knead the dough. We're rolling the ball underneath us, and the foot becomes the rolling pin. And the ball is just that lovely, soft dough, and we're using it to massage our right foot. Yes, that's exactly what I said, massaging our right foot. Excellent. So now we come off. Oh, hope you can tell a lovely change on the right side versus left side. I'm going to go on to the left ball of my foot, and I've got my toes rested. I'm just going to lean into that ball, a little hinge across the front of my ankle, and back to where I was. Very, very subtle ranges of motion. And as you're doing this, being mindful that you're really easy with your arms, rested shoulders, heads floating, a couple more of these, and that you're breathing easy. One more. There's no need to be breathing heavily at this point yet. So now the toes straight, and you just let the big toe side of the ball of your foot go down, and then the little toe side. So it's as though the foot is rolling in and it's rolling out. Just that subtle feeling. Yep, 2 more. I'm not sure why my hand has to help me, but apparently it does. And then we'll go on to the arch of our foot. And here's where, if you need a little assistance, by all means do so. And then you wait, shift into that left arch of your foot, and you come off. You're just hanging on top of that ball for a split second. Ideally, the heel is pretty lazy and the toes are draped over the ball. And like I said, you can always use a sock with a couple of washcloths inside the sock. And you'll need a pair of them for today's class, if I didn't say that out loud earlier. Man, whew, lots of things. All right, a couple more of those, and then we'll go to the heel of our foot. Apparently I'm gonna play with this ball. And same thing here, if you want to go into a little suspension feeling. How can I let my body be held by the left bum and the left heel having a conversation. It's just a subtle little weight shift. And this weight shift happens at all times when we walk. Two more. And then we'll just roll the foot out, meaning the foot becomes a rolling pin and the ball is the dough, and we're just kneading the dough. Excellent. So now I'll come off. That is lovely. And then we're going to go into a lovely little roll down just to start and see how that feels. And letting the crown of your head drape down on top of, towards your earth. Taking a nice inhale and then exhale, slowly building back up. And remember, flexibility is dependent on how kind you are to your body. So don't force anything. Allow your body to just find its way. So you nod your chin, you curl down, finding your body rolling right over on top of your thigh bones, supporting you. And give yourself the top test to make sure that your chin hasn't collapsed into your chest. Take a nice inhale, and then exhale, find your feet. How can the legs land on the feet? The thigh bones land on the legs. The pelvis landing on the thigh bones. And then the spine floating up, head and neck resting on top of the spine. All right, now you get to go into this lovely little lazy spine twist. So your arms, now that we're really free, should be able to swing. And we'll do this again later to see how this feels too. And we're just letting the arms help us twist. Lazy, lazy twists. What's my foot doing as I twist? Each foot paying attention and bringing a little awareness. And then from there we come to a little standstill. Oh yeah, I'm already ready for a little bit more stretching. How about you? I'm going to start with the chair again. I'm going to move the chair back on the mat this time. And from here, I'm going to come across, have a seat. We're going to go back to what we kind of started with, which was a little bit of forward fold, and then we started with some tapping and things, right? So similarly, you're just going to forward fold only where you can tell the small of your back is in a nice stretch. And then from there, you're going to reach your eyes forward, stick your chest out, so to speak, into your cow shape. So we're doing a seated cat-cow to start with. And then we're going to puff our back, go into that lovely cat shape again. And as you go into the cat shape, just notice that your belly button lifts up towards your breastbone. And then keep that belly button just encouraged as you let it go into that cow as well. All right, couple more. Into a cat. Into a cow. And you're probably wondering, what does this look like in profile? Here we go. I'll sit facing the other way. Here I am, rounded over. I puff my back up. And then I'm extending from just my spine. My arms and my legs are just going along for the ride. You're staying free. Couple more. And one more. All right, so now from there, I'm going to come back to meet you, facing you. Arms are going to go out to the sides to a T. Your right arm's going to drape, and you're going to take your left arm up and over. Remember the side bend that we did for tapping? That's why I said it'll come back to you. And your right arm is so heavy that it's just dangling and reaching for the earth. And both sit bones ideally are planted, which makes the side bend a lot more beneficial from fingertip to hip. Lovely left side stretch. And then we come back upright. And guess what? The right side needs a little love. So we go up and over towards the left. The left arm is dangling. Your ear just tilted towards the armpit. And you're just stretching out that right side, inviting your right lungs to feel like they're just being floating like an accordion, opening up towards the ceiling. And then we come back up. 2 more each way. Left arm goes up as the right arm goes down. We go up and over. And then we come all the way back up. And we go up and over as the left arm goes down, the right arm goes up into our side stretch. And coming back up, last one, both sides. And then we come back up. So now all we're going to think of is how are we allowing our arms to roll around. And it's as though I'm kind of going into a butterfly wing type of feeling. And I'm just going to roll my arm bones. My fingertips are just resting on top of the shoulders. And I'm just circling them one way. And in a moment, I will be circling them the other way as well. So just a couple more of these. And then we'll circle the other way. And notice how free the arm bones move because we freed up the sides. It's amazing, right? We're going to keep continuing on this pattern with the Franklin ball later too, so hang in there with me. We have lots of fun things to explore together. A couple more here, please. And now we'll think of adding a little rotation. So I'm going to rotate towards my right side. I'm going to take my right arm out to the side to a T. I'm going to let my head, neck, and eyes follow that arm as it goes behind me. I'm going to let it fall on top of the chair. I'm going to take my left hand to the side of my right thigh bone, and I'm going to use it as a means to help me get a little deeper twist from my ribs. Let my right hand rest a little bit more. Left shoulder is easy. Both shoulders are happy. Palm is turned up on the right. And then I'm going to lift that right arm up, come back through that T and back to center. And then the left arm goes out to the side to a T. I'm going to let my head, neck, and eyes look towards the left, towards my fingertips. And I'm going to rotate with my hand, take my right hand to the side of my left thigh bone, allowing my left arm to just rest along the back of the chair. And using this right hand to help me find both sit bones to be heavy on the chair, and 3 breath cycles. And then lift that arm up, out to the side to a T, and we come back to center. One more time each side. Right arm goes out to the side, you look at it, you let it go behind you, you let it fall, left hand goes to the side of the right thigh bone, and breathe. And then we lift, we come back to the T, and let that hand lower. Left arm goes out to the side, you turn and you look at that arm. Your head, neck, and eyes following your hand makes a huge difference. Right hand to the side of the left thigh bone, putting weight on both hip bones equally. 2 more breath cycles. And then back to center. Now we'll be done with this chair part of the adventure momentarily. So I'm going to take the chair off and put it aside, and I'm going to find my way down to the earth. How am I going to do that? I'm going to roll down into a lovely forward fold, and then I'm going to bend my knees so much that my hands can land on the earth and have a seat right there. All right, so now from there, we're going to take one of those Franklin balls and we're going to put it right below our right hip bone, actually your right sit bone, I should say. And you're going to bend that right knee, and you're going to bend your left knee, and let your left knee kind of become really lazy. Your right knee is going up to the sky. Your hands are down on the earth with easy shoulders. And now from there, you're just going to let your right thigh bone open and fold. Very simple for right now. Open and fold. And so you're in a different sitting posture. Couple more. And now from here, I'm gonna bend both knees and I'm gonna roll around that ball with my sit bone. And I'm gonna try to think of all corners of the sit bone to try to massage where a bunch of places can get a little uncomfortable. So just giving my body a little massage around the sit bone. And now I'm gonna go all the way out to the side of my right hip, meaning side of the right thigh bone specifically. And same thing here, my left knee is pointing up, this time my right knee is down to the earth. I'm just gonna float that right knee up and back down. So it's a different acupressure point, and you're just breathing through it. And remember, this is never about me. If it's too uncomfortable, do not force this movement, please. Be kind to yourselves. A couple more, just holding it there and kind of letting it open. And even getting your body weight over onto that side sometimes can be very tender. Just be mindful that you're careful with this and breathe. And that's where we're ending up anyway. And then from there, you're gonna go from that side of the thigh bone to the sit bone. And then back out to the side of the thigh bone to the sit bone, a few times like that. So it's kind of diagonal and linear. All points of where our thigh bone and our pelvis have communication happening. Last one. Excellent. So you're gonna take the ball off. Just for kicks, stretch both legs out in front of you and sit on your sit bones. Can you tell which side feels much more grounded and heavier onto the earth? I hope you can. I sure can. Now we're ready for the left side. So how did we start? We started with the left knee. Well, this time it'll be the left knee pointing up, the right thigh bone just resting, the right knee down, and now we open the left knee and we bring it back. So it's as though we're kind of creating a hip opener, because we are. I know, I can be very silly sometimes. And then from here, we're gonna bring both knees back up, both feet planted, and we're just circling around the sit bone. And breathing, most important part. And yes, it's weight bearing on the wrists. I didn't say that on purpose, but it's good for us. Pretty much all movement habits, as long as it comes from a place of comfort, is good for us. And now I'm gonna go to the side of the thigh bone. Ooh, this side's very tender for me. And I'm gonna revisit that opening and folding of that thigh bone. So it just opens out to the earth and it comes back to meet the right knee. And my right knee is pointing up to the sky, in case you were wondering. And now I'm gonna go linear, back to the sit bone and diagonal and back out to the side of the hip. Back to the sit bone, back out to the side of the thigh bone, I should say, the side of your thigh bone. Okay, a few more here. Whew, one more. And then we'll come off of that ball. Oh yes, that's pretty awesome. And then we sit, we forward fold for a moment. Yep, much, much better. All right, so I'm gonna leave the ball aside just for right now, not for a long time, but we'll come back and visit the ball in a moment. So let that go. And here's a place where if you need just a little kindness across the small of your back, you put a blanket or a small pillow across the flat part of your bum, just so your ribs can rest even heavier on the earth. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do right now. I'm just gonna put the blanket and I'm gonna go all the way down onto my back. And then from here, you've got your stretch out strap hopefully somewhere handy. What you're going to do is you're going to take the stretch out strap, put the last loop in the right foot, and you're gonna pause here. I'm actually going to change something for a moment. I apologize. Okay, I just needed to get the roller away from me. All right, so from here, you've got the right loop in the right foot. the last loop in the right foot. Now, if you do not have a stretch out strap, you would put the towel across the foot and you'd be holding both ends of the towel. Or if you have any kind of a dog leash, you would be holding both ends of the leash. Just so we're all clear about that. Once you bring your right leg up into the air, where it's perpendicular to your body, now from here, if the right side of your hip is talking to your armpit, gently tell the right sit bone to talk to the left foot, and that'll lengthen out your whole right side. And then we'll just go across and away, little windshield wipers. And these are very subtle ranges of motion to keep the left hip from wanting to help us too much. So, and I'm in a neutral thigh bone position as I go across. So a little tick-tock with the thigh bone on the right side. And a couple of more of these, so it'll make it 8. We're going for the number 8. And then we're going to roll the thigh bone out, go across the body and away from the body. And it's like a little pendulum swing of the thigh bone, side to side. Very free swings. Number 4, and 5, 6, and 7, and 8. And now internally rotated thigh bone. So big toe goes towards the middle of the body and the heel goes away from the middle of the body. Being mindful once again that the right sit bone is still reaching for the left foot, so your right side body is happy. Excellent, that was 8 for me. So now the diameter of the circle you're going to draw is predicated by how wide your tick-tocks were. So you're going to go across the body, down, around, and back up. 8 circles one way with that right thigh bone, and 8 circles the other way. And you pause in the middle for a little inhale. And here's my 8th one. And I'll go the other way now for 8. Yes, the whole purpose is to really enjoy this. That's why my deliberate pace is kind of slow. And after those 8, you're just going to gently let that right leg reach away from you so it lands out in front of you onto the earth, and you bring it right back towards you. So now we're going to move it forward and back. And as it comes towards you, give it a little bit of extra little hamstring stretch. Bring it a little closer to you. And just keep encouraging. If it doesn't come too close, don't scold your body. It's okay. And once again, the number 8. Here's 6. And 2 more, please. Excellent. And now I'm going to bend my knee to come out of this loop and stretch both legs out. Just to notice how much heavier my whole right side is resting onto the earth. And if I could measure, I would tell you that it was a little longer. All right, so same love for the left side. I'm going to bring my left foot towards me, put the last loop in the foot, and then hold where it feels comfortable in your hand. The left leg is hopefully perpendicular to your hips and your body. If not, if it's a little further away, don't scold it. We're just holding it here for a few moments before we begin to ask for it to move a little. So breathe into this stretch. And then from here, gentle little tick-tocks or windshield wipers. We go across the body and away from the body. Breathing comfortably and easily. We really don't have to exaggerate breath right now. It's just nice to give that thigh bone a little extra breath so it can sink a little deeper into the hip. And there's 8 for me. And now Externally rotated, heel towards the middle of the body, toes away. This is my more challenging position on my left side especially. And here's another thing you want to be mindful of, that your left knee isn't locked in place. Be kind to the back of the knee, just a little micro bend. And there's 8 for me. And then internal rotation. In big toe towards the middle of the body, heel away from the middle of the body. And I had to remind myself to lighten my grip in my hand. Easy hand grip. And then after the 8th one, we come back to center and we go into those circles. We take it across the body, down, around, and back up. And how free can this left thigh bone move, as though I've poured oil in the sockets. Smooth and soft. Here's 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and then we'll go the other way. 8. And after those, it's the long, long sweep of that left thigh bone going all the way down out in front of you into the earth. And you encourage it back up towards you. Oh yes. Here we go, number 2. Keeping the knee happy, mindful that it's has a little micro bend. And you're just going to hug it into you, bend your knee to come out of that loop, stretch both legs out in front of you for a moment. Oof, yeah, that feels really, really nice. So from here, we're just going to go into a little pelvic lift into our bridge. I'm going to take my blanket aside. Put it away. And each heel is in front of each sit bone. Arms are either nice and long besides the sides of your hips, or up above behind you, or in a goalpost position. What feels good for you right now? Where do you feel happiest? With the top of your ribs resting into the back of your ribs onto the earth. Your shoulders and your collarbones are happy. Head and neck heavy, pelvic tilt, so the small of your back gets to kiss the earth. Inhale, release. And use an exhale. Inhale, release. And after this next pelvic tilt, we step into our feet to curl our tailbone and peel our hips up into our bridge. And we pause in our bridge and take an inhale. And then exhale, curl your spine to roll your way all the way back down, melting each vertebra one at a time onto the earth. And then you release. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, curl your tailbone. Remember, your heels have a purpose. Knees are resting right over the heels. Ribs are being suspended. Head to tail is in a lovely little hammock, and the ribs being held by the hammock. And then we start from the middle of our chest as we roll down. And then the low back rolls down. And then the pelvis, and then the tail. Last one like that. We pelvic tilt. Use as many inhales and exhales as your body would like. And pause up top. Take another inhale. Exhale, curling and rolling back down. Excellent. So now from there, I'm going to bring one knee into my chest and then the other knee into my chest, just to give myself a little hug. and a little release. All right, remember when I said we'll use the Franklin balls again a little later? Here's where we're going to use it. So we're going to take one of those Franklin balls or a sock. I'm actually going to turn myself around just so you can see where I'm placing this ball. I'm going to put it literally where I can see it. If I were to shine a light from above, I can see a pinch of it right above the shoulder, and it's resting across the shoulder blade. And now from that position, I'm going to lift my right arm up towards the ceiling, and it's still rested into the shoulder. And then I'm going to take that arm up and back behind me, and then I'm going to lift it right back up over. Just a few of those. The arm bone is rolling smoothly, just like the thigh bones. I've poured oil in your arm sockets too. I know it's magic. Here we go. 3 more. And back. And 2 more. And back. And 1 more. So on this next one, I'm going to keep my arm bone up. And then I'm going to shrug my shoulder up toward the ears as my arm reaches behind me, and then I'm going to slide it back in. And my arm bone slides as the shoulder blade also rolls around the ribs. And then we come back to 3 more of those. Shrugging my shoulder blade towards the ear and release. The last 2. So funny how my left side wants to hold me. And 1 more. And then I'm going to bring my arm right over my chest, right in front of me again, over my chest. And from here, I'm going to draw a few circles, arm bone circles. 5 circles one way, 5 circles the other way. And they can be large, medium, small, what feels good. And then we'll reverse. Very good. And then I'm going to take the ball off and just rest into the earth, and notice a lovely little downward slope to the right side of your shoulder. And now we know we've got to give the left side a little love. So I'm going to put the ball under the left shoulder, the top of the left shoulder, or if I looked at it from above, I can see a sliver of the ball across the top. All right, so now my left arm is reaching nice and long. It's still rested in where it meets the collarbone and the shoulder blade, and it rolls freely back towards my earlobe, long arm bone if available, and it rolls right back forward. And right where you were at 90 degrees to your chest, and behind you, and right over your chest. Let's go for 2 more. Hopefully your right side is really resting and easy. And now from here, your left arm bone literally shrugs up with your shoulder blade shrugging up to your left earlobe, and release. Does your right side want to help you? Yep, I know, mine does too. Here's number 2. And then come right back over our chest, and those circles. I forgot, I love to use fruit references, don't I? I'm thinking of a cantaloupe size. You know I love my fruits. And 5 the other way. I feel like I'm drawing squares with this arm, guys. It's kind of funny. And 5. And then I'm going to take the ball aside. Oh, yes. Now, for a split moment, I'm just going to rock myself up to sitting. And we're going to go to the roller section. I'm going to turn my mat around just so I have a little bit more surface area. Go fetch my ball because I'll need it in a little bit. Excuse me. This is what happens when it's live videos, right? All right, so here we go. Now, if you do not have a roller, remember you can use the blanket as a roller. And we're going to use the roller for a little side stretch coming up next. I know we did that a little bit on the chair, but this is a little different. And for some of us, it's kind of nice to have a little pillow for our head and neck. If you're one of those, by all means do so. Fold your blanket if that's where you are. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lie on my right side facing you, and I'm gonna go to where it's between my hip bone and my ribs, so across the waistline, so to speak. My bottom knee, which is my right knee, is bent, and my arm is just gonna be stretched out because that's where I wanna be today. My left leg is just resting long underneath my hip. And yes, this is not comfortable, but it will be more comfortable in a moment. So from here, very gentle here. You don't have to do a lot if you don't want to, but you're just gonna allow your body to kind of roll towards the earth, breathing, and then you roll back to where you were, and you let your eyes look up a little bit, and you roll maybe behind you, and allow your left thigh bone to roll with you that's available. Left foot points up if that's helpful, and then you roll in towards the earth. And these are very gentle ranges of motion, so be kind to yourselves. I started on my difficult side on purpose. This is my difficult side. So you can see my face turn into groaning. Woof. Yes. I'm right there with you. I know I can't hear or see you, but believe me when I tell you, I know this is not completely pleasant. One more of these if it's available. This is where I said if you want a pillow, it lessens the load. Excellent. So now we're going to move the roller up. So lift up and towards the center. So where the bottom of the ribs and just below the nipple line area. Yes, it's a lovely reference. Ah, much better, right? I know, it's much kinder. And once again, my arm is still resting down below. My head is resting on my arm. And I'm just gonna roll towards the roller and roll back as far back as my body lets me. It's not about forcing this range of motion. Where is it where you have a happy return? It's always about coming back to your normal without too much effort, or much effort if that's the case. With just enough energy to come back. May I have a couple more, please? And I really mean a couple more, 2 more. And then I'm gonna roll in a little and stay there and give the bottom of those ribs a little extra couple of breaths. 3 breaths to be exact instead of a couple. All right, so now I'm gonna move the roller into my most challenging section, which is the armpit. You know, you think the waist is hard, but boy, this is even more tender. But breathe into it and remember, be kind. If this is not available, don't go there. Especially if your right hand goes completely numb and you can't feel it, don't go there. But be kind to yourselves, and you only gently roll what's available to you. Lost my ears, and we'll get it back in a moment. There we go. Just 3 more. Or you can just hang out in a section that feels like, oh, this is a good acupressure feeling. For me, that would be back here. Whew. Last one for my rolling. All right, so before we change sides, come up and have a seat, legs out in front of you. And notice how well you're sitting on your right side compared to the left side. Let both arms float up towards the ceiling and notice how easy your right arm floats up. I hope that was the case for you. Guess what? We get to go to the other side, so I'm still gonna face you. I'm just gonna move my roller away a little bit. And once again, it's between the hip bone and the bottom of the ribs along your waistline. And remember, one side is always different than the other, so go with what's available. Whew. Yep. I'm gonna let my right arm go overhead this time. And I'm gonna roll back and roll in. Let's go for 6 of these, or 7. And then we'll move it up to the middle, right below our nipple line sections of our chest. Whew. Yep. Different side, different areas that are a little bit more informative, talkative. 6 of those. Remember to breathe through this, please. Ooh. I'm going to roll towards the earth and hold it here and breathe again, 3 full breath cycles. Just to massage those ribs there. And then carefully coming up, going to the armpit section, underarm section, whatever you like to think of. Oh, much kinder today on this side. Well, and a few of those, 6 to be number-wise, or 3 or 4, what feels good for you. Number is only a suggestion. And on this side, I'm going to roll back and keep it there for a couple of extra breaths, 2 to be exact. And then carefully coming up, having a seat again with my legs out in front of me. Yeah, I'm a lot more even, and both arms float up, and they're floating up nicely. So that takes us to spine stretch forward, seated. And here's another place. A throne is very helpful if your hamstrings are still talking to you. And by this point, hopefully they're a lot more relaxed. And we just go into our spine stretch forward. I'm just gonna face you for a moment. So arms are out in front of you. The weight of the world is resting on your shoulders. So your shoulders are literally just relaxed into your sit bones. And you're gonna nod your chin towards your chest and curl forward. The most important section you wanna curl with your low belly is your low back. And then we come back to floating right over those sit bones, stacking ourselves upright. And 3 more. Just 4 of these. Lovely spine stretch forward. And coming right back on top of those sit bones. And 2 more. And last one, please. And then come in. All right. I feel a lot more stretched out. So we're going to continue, but we're going to go on our hands and knees next. And I'm just going to swing my legs face this way. And on my hands and knees, finding my hands directly under the shoulder and shoulders, and knees directly under the hips. And then finding that floating rib sensation where the front of my ribs are having a conversation towards the back of my ribs. And if I could come and give you all this lovely lift of your skin from your heart to your collarbone up and going around towards your shoulders. So I'm wrapping those collarbones out and in gently to the shoulders. And the shoulders are broad, fingertips are broad. So each knuckle gets its own place on that real estate, on that mat. And the elbows are happy, head, neck floating. And now from here, you're just gonna reach your right toe back onto the earth. And it's a pinprick. And from that aspect, you're just gonna hinge at the ankle to stretch the right calf. So your right foot is going into deep dorsiflexion and your left hip gets to go into a little flexion. So we're loading our left hip a little bit. And then from there, you're gonna come back on top of that pinpoint of a toe prick and lift that toe off and place it back down. And we go right back into that lovely calf stretch. And you're still rooted in your arms. And then we come forward and your shoulders just go behind your hands for a temporary moment. We lift that right foot off. We come back down and we go back. This time go as far back as your body will let you. So if you can go all the way into where you're sitting on your left hip, go for it. But you're still upright, keeping your spine hopefully in the same place. So the small of your back can change a little there, but see how you can minimize it. And then we come back right over that left thigh bone and we float that right foot off. We have one more of these. So just 4, but very slow and deliberate pace. And coming right back, floating that right foot off for a temporary moment, bringing that right knee into where it belongs, directly under the right hip. Same love for the left side. So now the left toe is a little pinprick on the earth behind you. We're on our hands and our right hip, our shoulders and our right hip. Good. And now from there, we're going to take that right foot temporarily off. We place it back and we go into that nice calf stretch. And then we come right back and we let that left foot float off of the earth. And we come back, let the left foot land, left toe land, and then we go into that dorsiflexion, ankle stretch. And then we come back, let that left toe become a pinprick, float it off, back down. This is the one where we go into a deep little squat, into our right squat. Right hip, deep, deep sitting in our right hip. And then we come back gently through the arms and then float the left leg off. Last one, gliding and sliding as much as it's available. We're still upright, heart is still lifted. And then we float it off one last time, come back and bring that knee in. So now that those hips are even more loose, after sitting for a moment, we're gonna go into a cat stretch, just for the small of your back, and then release. So it's just the tail tucking under, low belly lifting into that space, hugging the front of your low back and releasing. So low belly lifting into the low back like a parachute and release. And now we're ready to go into a full cat. So we're gonna hover into a cat, but we're mindful that our arms are still long and reaching the earth away with our hands. I mean, we're letting the hands be held by the earth. I don't know what I just said. I'll stop talking for a second. Here we go. We're in our cat shape. And then we're going to go through the tail into the middle and then the upper back to our cow. 5 more like that. Very deliberate. Curling, 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 puffing up into that lovely floating of our cat. And then we go into cow. Oh yes, weight bearing for the wrists again. And last 3, I think. And 2 more. Ideally, the arms and the thigh bones are in the same place. It's just our spine floating around. Excellent. So take your hands out in front of you. Let your legs lengthen out underneath you. We'll go right into our bellies. So as we go into our bellies, if you have a stretch out strap nearby, grab the stretch out strap. You're going to put the last loop in your right foot. One more time, we'll start on the right side. And you're going to be all the way down on your belly. And remember, if you don't have a stretch out strap, it's okay. Just bend at the knee and find your stretch for the front of your right hip. So you're going to rest on the back of your left forearm and hand with your forehead. And you're going to think of how heavy can the front of your hips continue to sink into the earth? How can they melt? And once again, shoulders are relaxed, broad open collarbones, belly button floating up to your breastbone. And you're gently pulling that right foot towards you to open up the front of your right thigh bone. And being mindful of your hand and your wrist, I had to remind myself of that. And then release. Just 5 times like that. Here's 3. And then you're going to let go of that strap, take it off of your right foot, and just take a moment. Stack both hands on top of each other. Your right hip is still heavy, hopefully. You're going to turn your ear, your right ear lands on the earth. You're going to turn towards the left, and that right foot gets so heavy that it's barely off of the earth, and it floats off of the earth. And now from there, that whole right leg and thigh bone is going to go and kiss the left thigh bone. So you slide it across the body towards the other side. And you're still low with that right leg and thigh bone. Same thing here, you're very kind to your belly button. It's lifted towards your breastbone, kind to the low back. And then we release. And I forgot to mention, hopefully you can rewind it and do this again. If you have any low back issues, putting this blanket between your ribs and your hips underneath on your belly will give you a little bit of support as well. And if you're not somebody who likes being on your belly, just ditch that section. Okay, so now, I hope you can tell that your right leg just is so much longer. And from here, one more thing on the right side. You're going to grab one of those Franklin balls that you have. You're going to put it directly under your right thigh bone, somewhere in the middle maybe, or towards the hip, wherever it feels most comfortable. And then from there, you're just going to bend at the knee very slowly by reaching your right foot towards your bum, or to 90. Where does it feel like it's giving you a good stretch? So it's not about me. And then from there, you're going to let your right leg roll in towards the left side, and then it goes out. Your right thigh bone rolls out, and your right thigh bone rolls in. So your leg goes across to the other side, and it goes away from the body. And bent knee, and your right thigh bone is heavy on the ball. Last one, I think this is 5. And then you're going to let that fall back down. So One more time. We're going to let this right thigh bone get even heavier. Right front of your hip is getting heavier as you float that right leg long this time off of the earth. And you're just going to breathe into this long stretch this time, where your thigh bone is resting on the ball. And then you're just going to windshield wiper, long thigh bone side to side. You're just rolling around, massaging the thigh bone, muscles across the top of the thigh bone, towards the front of your body. Okay, that was 5 for me. Now I'm going to take the ball off, lie on my belly again. And notice what a lovely slant you feel on the right side. So the right front of your hip and your thigh bone is hopefully really happy. Guess what? We get to do the left side. Yay, you say. I know. I can hear the enthusiasm. I'm just having a hard time lassoing this strap into my foot for some reason. So I'm going to hold it with my left hand. My forehead's going to rest on the back of my right hand. And then I'm going to bend at the knee and gently pull that leg towards me as I let the front of my left hip sink into the earth a little bit more. So the pubic bone is ideally down on the earth. And the tail is just relaxed. No need for bum clenching here. Here's number 2 for me. I'm just barely lengthening and pulling it back. Very tiny, tiny ranges of motion. That was 5 already. It goes by so fast, doesn't it? And then we take the strap off. We're going to rest on the back of both of our hands, stacked one on top of each other, shoulders relaxed. That left foot reaches so far away and it gets so heavy that it floats off of the earth. And the leg is just barely hovering off of the earth. Long leg and thigh bone. And you're going to let this whole left leg go and kiss the right side. So the thigh bones kiss each other and then we release. The front of both hips ideally are down. 2, 3, and 4, and 5. And then we let it go. And now we grab that Franklin ball again. We put it right in the middle of our thigh bone. And the front of the hip as close towards the earth as possible. It's kind of tough here. It's just barely off of the earth. So keep thinking of letting that thigh bone get heavier and heavier. You're going to bend at the knee, maybe towards 90 or a little past 90. Where does it feel like you get a little deeper stretch? Explore, and then you're just going to let that leg roll around. So it goes towards midline and away. Those tick-tocks, bent leg. A little acupressure for where the meat of our thigh bone, the front of our quadricep muscles. And that was 5. And then I'm going to stretch that leg out nice and long, and it's heavy onto the earth. The front of the hip is getting heavier and heavier. I'm going to barely let that leg float off. And I'm just going to hold it here and breathe for 3 breath cycles. And now I'm going to roll the ball side to side across the front of that thigh bone. And 5. I'm going to let go. All right, so we're done with that part. If you have a stretch out strap, grab it. I'm not sure why I put it away. You're going to hold somewhere where it's kind of wide side to side. And your arms are behind you, and the strap is kind of resting across the top of your thigh bones. The head is just barely off of the earth. And remember, here's another place. If you're not somebody who likes being on your belly, ditch this section and come back and look at it and revisit it with some support between your ribs and your hips. All right, so now from there, belly button floats up. Your eyes start looking forward. Arms just barely hovered off. And the strap is still resting, so float the arms, float the strap off. And think of your fingertips and your hands reaching for your toes. And then roll back down and relax. Taking an inhale. Exhale, broad open collarbones, broad shoulders as you float your heart and your chest barely off. So a little mini swan, and then come back down. If available, 3 more times. And back down. And 2 more times. And 1 more. And then we're gonna ditch the strap. Hands directly under the shoulders. You're gonna push yourselves up and back into a child's pose. And stretch and breathe and relax. 3 breath cycles there. Excellent. So now from there, we're going to roll ourselves back up and sitting literally on our feet if that's available. If this is not comfortable, here's a few alternatives. You could sit with a blanket between your knees and your legs, and you can sit on top. If that's still not available and it's your ankles that are bothering you, put something under your feet so your feet can rest on the blanket and have a seat. So find your position that feels good for you and don't force it. So I'm gonna go back and have a seat on my heels. This is called hero's pose, in case you were curious or wondering what it was called. I'm not sure why I have to tell you these things, but apparently I wanted to, so here we go. Oh shoot, I just looked at the clock. We don't have a long time left. I better speed things up a little bit. I don't know anything about hurrying in life, so I'm never in a hurry. All right, so now from there, I'm gonna reach forward, let my hands land for a moment, tuck the toes under, and also go into toe sitting. Here's another place, a blanket between your bum and your legs would be a great idea. Ideally, you wanna sit on those toes and float your way up into sitting on those feet, on those heels, if it's available. For some of us, this is a very, very tender and painful process. And for me, it almost always feels better if I open my knees out a little bit and let the blade of the big toe side of my feet talk to each other. That's the only way I feel a little bit more comfortable. And it's not comfortable, by the way, I know. You're probably wondering, why is she doing this if it's not comfortable? It's a good stretch for our feet. We need all kinds of nice things for our feet because that's where we walk on all day. It's the first thing that meets the earth. All right, so now from there, we're gonna go back on our hands and knees again, and we're gonna revisit a few things. So the hands and knees temporarily a few moments ago was just so we could open the hips up after sitting a little bit. And this time, you're thinking of your collarbone kind of dipping down between your hands. So it's just sliding, your shoulder blades kind of go toward each other, and then we slide back up to the top. So these are called serratus kind of dips, so to speak, but it's just how can the front of your chest feel like it can reach down to the earth without having to change a lot and then slide back up. So thinking of all of our organs literally kind of going towards gravity and hanging for a moment and then sliding back up. So how can we provide more space between shoulder blades and more space from collarbone outward? From the middle of our breastbone outward towards the collarbones. A couple more like this. So we're just reaching and lengthening back up. So our chest literally is going between. So the front of the spine is melting into the breastbone, and it comes back and floats back up. Last one here. This is a tricky one. It looks like I'm barely doing anything, but there's a lot happening. So from there, we're gonna go right into drinking lion. I'm gonna give you something wonderful. You're gonna take your hands where they face each other. And we're gonna go into that lovely cat, where you puff your back up. You sit back towards your feet, and the head becomes your ladle. Now we go into a little extension. We let our head roll between our hands and our arms as we look forward and going into our cow, and then we go curl back into our cat. And the front of the spine gets a lovely little stretch as you go into your drinking lion. How about 3 more? Excellent. And now, thread the needle comes next. So thread the needle ideally, hopefully will help you stretch and twist in that normal spiral pattern. So you're gonna take your left arm out to the side to a T. You're gonna turn and look at it, take it up towards the sky, and then take it underneath your right armpit. Let the corner of your left side of the head land on the earth. Use the earth to push weight into that right arm to help you twist a little deeper if that's available. And then push back, one arm push up, and we go right back up towards the ceiling, and we go underneath. And 3 more. On this last one, you're gonna hold it there. And if it's available, take your right arm up towards the ceiling. And then we come back with the right hand. Push yourself up into that one arm push up. Left hand lands. And now the right side gets a little love. So right arm goes up towards the ceiling. You turn and you look at it. And then thread it underneath the left armpit. And the corner of the right side of your head lands on the earth if that's available. You push yourself up and out. And up towards the ceiling as you inhale. Exhale, coming back. And and 3 more. I might be off with my count, but this side probably needs a little extra. Here's 2. And 1 more. On this next one, whatever's available to you. Are you able to float your left hand up towards the sky and still be able to breathe and speak clearly? And then we come back, 1 arm push up. Voila. Man, that was really nice. I hope you liked that one. We're gonna curl the toes under. We have to come up to standing for a moment, right? So, well, we don't have to, but I would like to. We're gonna curl our tailbone and roll up into that cat shape again, and float our knees off, float our hips off, and walk our hands to our feet. And just let your head and neck shake yes, head and neck shake no, and then gently rolling your way all the way back up. All right, so, I feel like there were a lot of things there. That was really, really nice. I'd like to give you a couple of extra stretches, so to speak, for your daily routine. because some of these stretches that we've done, if we don't have a stretch out strap, it's a little different feedback. So how can you give the front of your hips a little extra stretch? If you have a chair at home, come and explore with me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit sideways on the chair where just my right bum and my hip is on the chair. And I'm gonna use my right hand and take my left knee all the way, I was sliding off of that chair, the left leg all the way behind me, left knee down to the earth. And then when I feel ready, I'm just gonna prop off of the chair. Now, do you have to prop off of the chair for a deeper stretch? Not at all necessary. You could stay on the chair and let your foot go into that, the top of the foot being down, you're still gonna get a nice stretch. But be mindful that your belly button continually stays floating towards your breastbone. We're gonna go up and over to open up the front of our chest. Just a little couple of tidbits here to help you stretch out the front of your hip and your thigh bone and quad area. How am I gonna go to the other side? I'm just gonna slide around. Yep, literally slide around. I'm staying on the chair, just my left hip and my bum is on the chair. And I'm taking my right leg where I feel a stretch. And same thing here, belly button floating up towards the breastbone, front ribs and the back ribs having a conversation. Right arm floats up if that's available to help you open your heart and chest. Head and neck happy here. And then we come back. All right, so that was just a little tidbit, just a little addition, because we're gonna sit again. And I like to have the front of my hips much, much happier as I sit. So one more nice thing with these Franklin balls, hopefully you have them. And then we're gonna repeat a couple of things we did all the way at the very, very top. But here's a really, really nice way to end for me. I'm gonna put each Franklin ball under each armpit and let my arms just literally dangle down towards the earth. And I'm gonna take an inhale where I feel like I have shoulder pads, like a football player. So as I inhale, I get really wide. And as I exhale, I'm gonna give the ball a little hug. 7 more times. Last one. Breathing is a lovely form of meditation. And remember, be kind to yourselves, don't judge. So now we add a little rotation. As we inhale, we're gonna look towards the right. Exhale, come back to center. As we inhale, we look towards the left, and our body looks and twists towards the left. We come back to center. Just 3 more each side. And 2 more. And last one. Excellent. And I'm going to take the balls off. Oh yeah, much, much better. Okay, so before we come back up to standing and do our roll down and our lazy spine twist, We're gonna end with a little scalp massage. I know you were wondering, when was she gonna do that? She said she was gonna do that a long time ago in one of those classes earlier. But here we go. We're gonna take our fingers. I'm ending with this because this will be the most relaxing thing for me at this point. So I'm hoping that that'll be useful for you as well. I'm gonna take my fingertips across my forehead area and literally just pick up the skin and roll it around on top of my head. That's mostly it. And then I'm gonna go up across the crown of the head and roll it around. My arms are so relaxed that it's so much easier now. I don't have to think about where my shoulder is. And then I'm gonna go to the sides of my head and literally pick up the scalp, the skin of your head, and roll it around. And then go to the bottom of the side of the head, more closer towards the center. And then go outward towards the earlobe area and be mindful that you have a little sinus cavity there called the mastoid sinus. And then around the mastoid sinus. And then across the base of the head, which is the point where the head and the neck meet. Yeah, and then we're gonna let our arms drop really heavy and let your right arm lift up, turn, take it behind you, and then circle it down and around in front of you. And then it lands on your left, on your thigh bone, left arm up, take it down and up and behind you and down and around in front of you. And one more time each side, this pattern, and we'll reverse the pattern in a moment. Don't worry, I know I'm never on time. And now we'll reverse, we'll take it down and behind us, and up and forward, and down and behind us, and up and forward. One more time each side. Right, so we're gonna come up to standing now. However you wanna come up to standing. I'm just gonna pour my weight onto my feet, come back up, stand, and just go into a lovely little roll down, just to see how I feel at the end of class. Rubbing my chin. Oh, I feel lovely. I hope you do too. And thank you so much for joining me. Shake your head yes, shake your head no. And then build your way back up on top of your feet. Rolling your way up. How about one more of those? And rolling your way back up. And then we'll go back to our lazy spine twist. Do you feel like you're a lot more easier with your twist? I sure do. How about a couple more? And thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't wait to see you all at the studio sometime soon. Appreciate you guys. Have a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Appreciate you so much. Gratitude. Love you. Bye.